Greetings. I'm Craig DeRoche, the President and CEO of Family Policy Alliance and Christians Engaged. And folks, today's show is one of my favorite people in all of Christendom, the entire body of Christ right now in our country, Mike Lynn in pray.com. This app, if you don't have it on your phone yet, you got to keep listening to me and Mike talk, but you got to start downloading it right now while we're talking. It's so transformative. It's helped out my prayer life so much. And we're inviting in. He's the founder of this. He came in and he talked about what was going on in our culture, like what parents were up against with what he called it was a $10 word, like pervasive advertising, but the stuff that we're competing with for the hearts and the minds, the attention from our children, trying to bring them down a good path. And we know the world doesn't always present them with a good path, but pray.com is a force for good. They are the number one faith and prayer app in America for sure, but I actually think it might be in the entire world. They're well over 15 million, 16 million users on their way toward 20, and they were at 5 million daily users, which is stunning, folks. There's not a lot of apps that have as popular as they are, and as much as you see them advertised on TV, there is not 5 million people a day using them, even if they have that on their phone. But people are increasingly looking to prayer and faith, and they're increasingly using pray.com, America's leading prayer app. And we've been talking a lot, Mike. Before I ask you a question, welcome to the show. It's good to have you back on, my friend.
Thank you so much. It's good to see you, and really excited about this year. There's going to be a lot of fun stuff happening at Pray.
So let's start with the start. I'm using old numbers from like when you were on in the fall. They've changed, haven't they? Like how many daily users are using pray.com now?
Yeah, we reach over 7 million people a day. We have $18 million of the application, and we just surpassed 190 million downloads of our podcast. So we're reaching new highs in all sorts of areas. And I think it just comes down to, people want inspiration. They want hope. There's all sorts of stuff that's happening outside, where we live. And I think that's why people are so interested.
And that's why I wanted to have you on the show. We're going to talk about that, folks, because we're a Christian ministry, but we work on a broader funnel than that. We work with Islamic folks, Jewish folks, people, the faithful, the people that pray, that faith, a relationship with God is important in their life. And we're seeing in our faith in Christianity, Mike, a huge uptick in rising Generation Z. I have my theory on it, but do you have Gen Z users using the pray.com app?
Absolutely. And I think it all just comes down to they want to experience content in a way that they're used to experience content. So what does that mean? Look, they're on TikTok, they're on Snapchat, they're on YouTube, and those platforms deliver content in a certain way, right? And it's really engaging. And so we built our platform the same way. Actually, the backers of our company are the same people that invested in those companies. So if you build technology in a way Gen Z is used to consuming it, they'll more likely pick it up and take a look at it. If you've got old technology, using web pages and just old ways of doing it, they're going to feel it. They're going to know it's old, and they're not going to want to spend a lot of time on it.
Right. So we want our audience. That's why I brought this up. Our audience, we pour a lot into this. We're with Mike Lynn, one of the founding team members and the president of pray.com, America's leading faith and prayer app. He's got his own personal story, and we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. But I wanted people to hear right out of the box, pray.com. If you don't have it on your phone yet, I want you to download it. I want to share it with your friends because this is fascinating, folks. There's over 100 ministries, I think, are on here every day. And these are ministries that I care a lot about. My dear friend, Tony Perkins, who I listen to a lot. Does he work with you?
Yeah, Tony's on the platform. He's great. He's incredible. We have all sorts of...
Give us some of the other names. Let people know some of the other, what they would experience their first time thumbing around through the pray.com app.
Yeah, what's really interesting is we really collected kind of the largest ministries in America. So there are definitely names that you've heard of. like Rick
Yeah.
Warren, like Jack Graham, like Tony Evans. And so when you peruse through our library, you're going to see those names. And we did this on purpose, Craig, is we went to the ministries that have the most resources that create the best content. And we said, hey, we want you on our platform because we're building a platform that has really great content. And so really there's very few ministries that you may know that's not already on pray.com. And the ones that we don't have, they'll be on pray.com very soon.
And folks, we have a big audience of ministries that participate with us in our product where we call it SoConCon, where we engage this social conservative movement in America. Mike Lynn, you don't have to comment on these things, but I'm sure you observed the work of Family Policy Alliance and this debate about things like boys and girls sports. Our audience has been very involved in that, they want to know what's going on in America. They want to know directionally where we're going. And we're with Mike Lynn, the founder of Pray.com. We are a policy and a political shop. So we talk about those things, but I want to talk about something broader than that. And that's, kind of a revival, if you will, that we see religion, faith, and prayer used in cultures at a very high level, and then it wings and it, all the way down to very low levels. And it has different effects on the cultures. And we see that anthropologists, Mike, will tell us that through over time. This matters, that matters, the morals, the economy, and the rest of it. But there's a lot of people that think that there's an uptick of interest in faith and religion in America that call it from the 50s and 60s. It kind of got chased out of the public square. Now with the election of Donald Trump and others, it's being ushered back into the town square. Do you think that that's part of what you're seeing organically in the audience and the culture's engagement in America generally too? Is there more interest?
100%. I'm a data guy, Craig. So I like to come with data. And if you just looked at the people interacting with pray.com on our social media handles and our social media channels, you'll see that uptick is actually taking place. Well, what do I mean by that? Well, we actually add over 100,000 new followers to our social media channels every month. 100,000 followers. This
100,000.
actually
Fortune 500 companies that don't do that.
Well,
right?
we actually outpace Disney right now in how many new followers we add. So we have 5.5 million followers, and really, we've been really focused on building our application and not focused on social media. And over the last year, we said, hey, maybe we should really spend some time on it. And that's how quick it's growing. So I look at that data and I go, okay, there's a real, need and a want for this. And it's accelerating at a pace that we've never seen before.
Right.
And we actually have one of the largest engaged followings in faith. We actually had over 9 million engagements just this year so far, 9 million with our social media handles. So, and accounts. So not only are people have access to the content, they're engaging with it. They're looking at it, they're liking it, they're sharing it. And that's exciting because I think in the climate we're in today, more people are talking about faith and not feeling uncomfortable with it. And I think that's the first time it's been that way, I would say, really since maybe after COVID. I think COVID kind of really changed people's willingness to hey, we should pray for people, even people that aren't necessarily call themselves religious. They would just pray that this thing passes. And again, I don't want to get too political, but I see that there's the Trump's cabinet is praying before their first meeting. And I was just like, this is a shift in mindset, right?
Yeah.
And so we're super excited about it. And I think, our leaders are saying it's a priority to them. It's always been a priority to us. And, Christianity, and just in the US, and there's other faiths, but Christianity is the majority religion. And, I think really people are just more comfortable saying, yeah, I'm Catholic. I follow Jesus Christ. It's okay to say on the open. It doesn't make you weird. It actually makes you the majority. And it's totally you should be very proud and you should be telling people that. And so that's what we're seeing in the data is like people are telling other people. They're following us. They're sharing it. They're liking it.
Folks, this is why we're so excited and get used to talking to Mike Lynn and his team members, by the way. Pray.com is such an exciting thing because to us at Family Policy Alliance, our family policy councils, thank you all, by the way, those of you tuned into the show. We couldn't do this without you. The reason why we were able to take an issue of the radical LGBTQ folks going into the K-12 system and trying to indoctrinate kids, having the boys playing the girls' sports, going to the locker rooms, all that. And we were able to bring that to the public's awareness. We were able to educate parents. We were able to get our public policy officials in both parties to start paying attention to it. And we were able to make so much change in that with your support that today, as I'm talking with Mike Lynn, the founder of Pray.com, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, is adopting Family Policy Alliance's position on girls' sports. He said today, Gavin Newsom of California, that he agrees with Family Policy Alliance, that boys should not be playing in girls' sports. Folks, that's what winning looks like, but it's not an ideological win. It's not even a political win. It's a moral win in our country for our culture when people start putting the hopes and dreams and the civil rights of our girls over these other experiments and the rest of it, when we start valuing a childhood versus trying to invade that childhood with sexualizing somebody and making them into or having to discuss issues that they don't need to talk about until they're 18 years old. We're making that progress, and it's because of what God is doing first and foremost in our culture. And for you to understand that, Mike, this is me freelancing a little bit and talking, but thank you for your patience allowing me to do this. The audience here, they know I work for Chuck Colson, and Chuck Colson was a theological leader, and he'd say that people in office, they represent, the elected leaders aren't leading them, they're representing the culture where it already is, Mike, right? So for
Yep.
us to have a hope for our elected leaders to do better, we have to actually speak into the culture as Christians. And very few things actually do that. Very few things. But Pray.com is one of the things that is actually speaking into and doing as a tool, a healing salve for our culture to come closer to God. So you got involved in this. I just wanted to give you that little edification, that little endorsement. I see God's hands all over this, and that's why we're so privileged to be able to promote you guys. But you got here, when I'm bringing up God, why we're having success politically in America, why there's hints of a revival. It's not our work, it's God. God pulled you in this ministry too. And I'd say that is part of why the success has come. You didn't come in here to chase after money. You were already chasing after money, and you're already a pretty
No.
successful dude. So tell us what God did to interrupt your life and bring you here today, where this is what you're doing. You're being Johnny Appleseed, spreading prayer across.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a pastor's kid. Like, I didn't grow up necessarily thinking myself as a missionary, and people tell me that, and I'm like, oh, that word almost seems too big for me. But I was raised in Green Bay, Wisconsin, blue collar family. My father worked in a paper mill for 50 years. I was raised Catholic, didn't grow up with a lot of money. First person in my family to go to college out of high school. And I thought, marketing was the path for my life. I thought that I was going to do that. And unfortunately, my parents got divorced. And, when that happens, it's a difficult thing for parents to separate. It's also, money separates. And my mom went to a financial advisor. The guy ended up swindling her out of some of the money. And that changed the path of my life. And really, God pushed me in that path because I became really good at understanding money. Why? Well, I changed my major to finance in college. And then I spent the next 13 years at Merrill Lynch really understanding money and understanding finance. And the reason I did is because I never wanted that to happen to my mom ever again. Like my poor mom did not deserve to be treated that way. And I said, I can't let that happen to her or anyone else. And so, I had a really successful career at Merrill Lynch and reached the heights of a very specialized group there that, deals with some ultra high net worth people. And I just met some amazing people there And, I moved to Los Angeles out of Wisconsin. I just couldn't do the cold anymore. And while I was here, that's how pray.com really came into my life. My business partner, Steve Gattina, he and I both went to USC. And he has an incredible story, which it could take this whole podcast up just talking about his background. But, he lost his business partner in a plane crash. And, I think when people go through tragedy, they fall back on their faith. That's what I do. I fall back on my faith. I fall back on my Catholic faith. And my business partner didn't have that. He kind of was like dragged to church from his grandmother. And so, somebody sent him a podcast from the pastor and was like, hey, like this helps me get through difficult things. Why don't you press play on this podcast? It's a sermon. It could help you out. And his response to that was, no way. Like, I'm not into that Jesus stuff. Like, I'm not doing it. And his friend, who is a Navy SEAL, by the way, is like, hey, I'm telling you, this helped me. You should listen to it. So we started listening to it going to work and coming home from work every day. And he was like, this is incredible. I can't believe this, podcast about faith, this sermon is really helping me with my business partner passing. Why did I not know about this? Like, why aren't people talking about this? There should be a place for all this stuff. And one day in the summer of 2016, Steve and I were friends. We got together and he told me he was going to start this company called pray.com, the digital destination for faith, so that people could get access to faith-based content whenever they needed it. And God pulled me in right there and said, this is it. This is the thing you've been waiting for. And I told him that night, the night we met, I go, I'm going to leave my 13-year career at Merrill Lynch, all my clients, all my licenses, everything I've been doing my whole life. And I'm going to help you build pray.com. Craig, I am not an entrepreneur. I had never done this before. I did not know what I was getting into, but I knew, God had touched my shoulder and said, this is it. This is where you're supposed to be. And it's been one of the most incredible things over the last 9 years. It's really just been a blessing.
And that's why I wanted you to tell the story the way that you just told it, folks. Listen, it's not a surprise to me. It's not a surprise to Mike, but they don't have the slickest marketing. They don't have the most money or anything else. The reason why pray.com is succeeding is it's an authentic obedience in return to the Lord, and ask him with the palms up is what I heard you just say. You want me here, Father, how to use me, and it shows. And that's why my family has been using pray.com, and why we wanted you to have you on here. Now you talked, I want to give a couple plugs for this, but I also want to talk about the so what for our audience, because I have an ask for our audience, not of you, Mike, but I want them to understand the so what to us of why all this stuff matters. Folks, we are in a spiritual battle. This is not a political battle. Issues like abortion are not political issues. The evil one wants you to think of them in terms of a political issue. But if you were out in the street and somebody was killing another innocent human being, you wouldn't say, wait a second, that's a healthcare issue for the person that is now dying. You would say it's a justice issue. It's about equality and justice and liberty. These are much bigger issues than I think our public was aware of. There's spiritual divide that we have in America. And we can't shout our way through that, but we can pray our way through it. We can seek to shine God's light in a way that attracts more people to his pathway. And we want to be able to do that, Mike, as servants of the Lord in politics, the same as somebody that would be doing it in, say, a food pantry ministry or homeless shelter, is to make it attractive to people, the civics of participation. So I just wanted everybody to know, and I'll get back to that I do have an ulterior motive. I do want Christians not to vote for any particular party. I'll give you my opinion. I'll tell you who I think you ought to vote for. But Mike, before we move to the next question, I just want to get your take on, I think you're aware of this. Christians, Bible-believing people that go to church more than twice a month, that believe that Jesus Christ is our Savior, do not vote at a higher percentage rate than homeless people, Medicaid recipients, welfare recipients in America. You've heard that before, right?
I have heard that, yes.
And it's not a made-up statistic. It's actually the truth. So we hope that pray.com and just this awakening that we're having in America is bringing about a revival of participation as well. And so, folks, we want you to wait out here on this podcast. Again, I want you to go check out pray.com. Mike, you've talked about social media. So tell us, where would they find you on social media?
Well, we're fortunate. We have the handle Pray on Instagram. So at Pray on Instagram, at Pray on pretty much any platform. TikTok, we have the at Pray handle. So you can find us there. And all of our handles, everything you need to find, just go to pray.com. We've got everything you need all in one spot. Make it really easy to, find the links to all of our social handles. And, back to your point, Craig, I think, there's biblical teachings. We know what they are, and we know why they've worked for thousands of years is because they're timeless.
Right.
And it's God's word. And, the more that we can open the book, get educated about what's in it, you'll find out the happier you'll be, which is, we've talked about this before, which is why we do clinical studies, which is why we put the science behind what we do, is because if you get access to faith-based content, especially the way that we deliver it, you will feel better. And you know what happens when you feel better? You make other people feel better. And, even from a voting perspective, right? You should want to vote in a way that has biblical teachings in mind, because we know it helps people. So it seems like it should be in alignment. And if you're going to church on a regular basis and you're hearing, the gospel, it should be very clear in terms of what the Bible teaches and what we're doing out there in the world. Like, the government can either be aligned with it or it can be against it. There's really kind of no gray area. And that doesn't necessarily mean left or right, by the way. It just means we know what the teachings are. Let's just follow them. And if someone is saying that they're going to do something against it, maybe we shouldn't vote for them.
Amen. And that's what this is about. It's about participation, and it begins with us spending time in the Word. And pray.com helps us do that so that we can reach you. Folks, it's an app. So the main thing, I don't want you to think of them that you're going to follow them on Instagram to get the most benefit. The most benefit is when you download the app. That's the first thing I did. And what I was amazed by was I could actually learn as well. I could watch and stream full shows, right? Instructional, devotional, sermons. I like James Earl Jones. Sometimes nobody can read the Bible better. Rest in peace.
He's incredible. Yeah,
and he's on there if you guys want to hear that. But no, it's a really big deal. And the last thing I want to say for everybody, we talk about culture, right? We talk about policy here. We've talked mostly about culture today, which is a little bit different from this, podcast. A lot of times we're talking about the bill we want to pass, Mike. We're saying like, this is what's critical or today. But I wanted you to know that we're talking about the culture because I want you all to check out pray.com. It's one of the things that we're going to be using as a tool to try to reach the American culture. There's millions of people there now. This is how we're going to reach people to get them. We'll be advertisers at pray.com. We'll be putting content up where we can. We want our ministry friends to do that as well, to help people take possession of this wonderful country they own and participate in it. But we also wanted to let people know that as you're listening to this, Mike, you wouldn't know this, but we bring different things to like our audience as parents. We brought them this course called Protect Young Eyes. And it allowed parents this past fall that didn't know how to go to Chrome and Edge and Apple and Android and set the parental, guides up. And we've got them a course, and it was like basically gave it away.
Oh, that's incredible. That's great.
Yeah, use this course, right? And everybody loved it, where we could, exactly like you're saying, where we could bring the resources to them. But what I wanted people to know as we're talking, and we are going to be talking our public policy people about using pray.com and other things like pray.com to compete with things like antidepressant drugs. And that's when Mike Lynn, the founder of pray.com, brought up, that there's clinical studies and that this will make you feel better. Understand he wasn't just being a salesperson there. He actually has a study, and we talked about that in a previous podcast, that shows the clinical, meaning the benefits, study about hundreds of people, whatever it is, medically, got as much or more benefit from pray.com daily use as they did from taking a prescription. And doesn't that sound a lot like the direction of our new HHS leadership and President Trump? So we also want you to know that we want you to check this out because we want your feedback for your own life too. We want you to kick the tires. We want you to test this. We want you to tell your own kids and your own friends and your own church and everything else too. You don't always have to run to a doctor when you're depressed or you lost your job or you got diagnosed with cancer. Start telling people to be looking for the word. And as we bring you our courses and we bring you the courses of other leaders, other theologians, John Stone Street, Dr. Jeff Myers, we also want to bring you resources like pray.com that will help you in your walk and might connect the dot for them as to why we fight so hard with the FDA and with all these big, things like that where people say, well, it's not a spiritual issue. And we say, yes, it actually is. Psychology is a spiritual issue. Depression is a spiritual issue. Even obesity is a spiritual issue, Mike. But that was
they're and you said it so well because people they want to feel loved. First of all, there's a lot of loneliness. Suicide rates are at all-time highs.
Yeah.
We're just about to announce this is kind of like breaking news, but science is very important to us. We want to understand Americans' mental health, and we're actually launching in partnership with the American Legion one of the largest national cross-sectional studies in America about how faith and prayer influence veterans' mental health. So we're having a survey go out shortly in Q2 to 1.5 million veterans and their families, which is going to provide critical insights to us about the role of faith and well-being, social connection, and mental resilience. And we're going to use that data to better position pray.com so that this is another resource that people can use, especially veterans, so they can provide, not just drugs or not just a one-on-one therapist, which there's not enough out there, but actually the tools that can specifically help veterans and their families. And so it's really passion for us. And, spirituality is a critical component of someone's mental health. There is absolutely no denial on it. You can look up anything with human flourishing, and anyone that's ever studied human flourishing knows that spirituality is critical. And even if you surveyed all of America, which Pew Research does, you would see, even if they don't necessarily, not everyone says faith is important. Over 90% say they believe in God, right? They believe in a higher being. So what does that tell you? That tells you that spirituality is important. Now it just becomes, well, who is that spirit, right? And then it just becomes the teachings of, for us, it's the Bible. Like, it's very clear who that spirit is. And if it's Jesus Christ, we know who that is from my perspective. I'm Catholic. And, getting access to that kind of content for different people in America, our data says it's going to help them, and we continue to grab data. So I appreciate your thoughts on that, Craig, because the more people have access to this, the more people that are going to be helped by it. The data just shows it. We have the data. We know this.
Well, it's amazing the work you're doing and that God's using you to look around corners like that. I know that you're involved with the behavioral health roundtable with my daughter, even where you guys are looking around corners and you're saying that physical, I want to get this right, physical, mental, and spiritual health are connected. And I think you say that out loud, and every American, right, left, Christian, atheist, you name it, would say, of course they are. And you would say, but why isn't our, but that's how we set up our budgets in our departments, right? They'd say, of course we don't. Why would we do that? That would actually help people sort out, all the things when like they lose their job and they're overweight and they're going through a divorce, right? You actually have to talk about all those things are related to each other. If you're having heart palpitations, And you're a wonderful resource, Mike. I want to thank you for coming on the show. I want to thank you for what you're doing for the Lord, even though you're a private sector company. You're not a Christian ministry. I see how the Lord is using you as His tool all day, every day, and I see the powerful effect it's having on our culture. And it's great to be able to have the access. I want all of the people listening to this to check it out. We do not have a sales agreement with pray.com yet, but I might someday. I'm saying this to you genuinely because I'm one of these people that might be like you that complained a lot over the last 4 years. Why are they doing it this way? Somebody ought to, right? Well, somebody did it. Somebody created an app that I can give to my kids that they can use in the public schools right while class is being taught. I have something I can give to my family members if they're thinking about suicide or if they have a cancer diagnosis. People that want to learn about Jesus and all the rest of it, I can give it away now, and it's working, and it's helping with our mission to have a tool like this alongside of us. So that's why I'm doing this. It helps. You're helping FPA advance our mission, whether you knew it or not, and just as you're helping everybody else that is on your platform, hundreds of ministries now, and I wanted to draw some awareness to it. And thank you for that, brother, and tell you that our prayers will continue to be with you as you are on this rocket ship that God put you on.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. We're blessed, and I got 70 people in the company behind me, so this is not just me. This is a whole group of people, and all the ministries, and all the content creators, and all the partners like you. Just if we can just get awareness, right? We need more awareness, and that's what we're doing today. That's what's happening right now.
That's what we're doing. Okay, we'll leave everybody with that. Download pray.com soon, and we'll see you all on the next podcast. God bless you. If you haven't done it yet, go to Christians Engage, pray, vote, and engage, folks. We own this country. We own this city. You own your school district. That's your talents. That's your bag of gold. The master's going to ask you what you did when he gave you these things. Did you vote? Did you participate? Did you show up? We're giving you all the tools to participate. Take possession of this wonderful country and the school district where you live. And we hope that you'll take us up on that. God bless you, and we'll talk soon.